Hello Ospreys, welcome to a special election news update on Inside Swoop in 90. I'm Sydnee Batzlaff, here to give you the inside scoop on Inside Swoop. President Donald Trump left Walter Reed Hospital on Monday night after 3 days of care for COVID-19. He is now back at the White House and says he is feeling really good. Trump's doctors say he has continued to improve, however may not be out of the woods for another week. Trump is expected to complete the rest of his recovery at the White House. Still, with just a month before the election, Trump tweeted he will be back on the campaign trail soon. Trump also says to not be afraid of the virus and not to let it dominate and take over your life. Democratic presidential nominee Joe Biden made his second trip to Florida. He campaigned in Miami and Little Havana, a typically conservative area for its opposition to the communist government in Cuba. While Trump is recovering, Vice President Mike Pence has taken the lead campaigning in key states. The vice president debate between Mike Pence and Democratic nominee Kamala Harris is still set to take place at the University of Utah on Wednesday night. The moderator will be Washington Borough Chief Susan Page. According to NPR, plexiglass will separate Pence and Harris during the debate. Susan Page has not yet released topics for the debate, but coronavirus is likely to be front and center. Last night was the first and only vice president debate of 2020, held at the University of Utah. Vice President Mike Pence and California Senator Kamala Harris were divided by plexiglass and sat 12 feet apart. Compared to last week's debate, this one was a real debate, uninterrupted for the most part. Coronavirus was a major topic of the night. Harris immediately targeted Pence, saying Trump's pandemic response is the greatest failure of any presidential administration in the history of our country, and says Trump and Pence still don't have a plan. Pence shot back with saying much of Biden's proposed plans are things the federal government are already doing. Pence expressed sympathy for all who have been affected by COVID and accused Harris of, quote, playing politics with people's lives. One of Pence's attacks on Harris was pressing for an answer on whether a Biden administration would pack the Supreme Court, adding Democrat justices if they did not win the election. However, Harris dodged the question just like Biden has. She did turn it around and say that not one black person has sat on the Supreme Court. Overall, it was a successfully tame night. The second presidential debate is set to take place on October 15th and will now be held virtually. However, Trump told Fox News, "I'm not going to do a virtual debate." I'm Sydnee Batzlaff, here to give you the inside scoop on Inside Swoop. It is now just 1 week until the 2020 presidential election day. For the campaign trail, President Donald Trump will be campaigning in Michigan, Wisconsin, and Nebraska. Democratic nominee Joe Biden will be in Georgia, and then Vice President Mike Pence will be in North and South Carolina, and Biden's running mate Kamala Harris will be in Nevada. The coronavirus is spiking in states Trump needs to win the election, including Wisconsin and Iowa. Both states are in the top 10 of those with the fastest growing cases per capita over the past 2 weeks. Newly confirmed Amy Coney Barrett's first votes on the Supreme Court could include 2 big topics affecting the man who nominated her. The court is weighing a plea from Trump to prevent the Manhattan District Attorney from acquiring his tax returns, and appeals to shorten the deadline and counting of absentee ballots in North Carolina and Pennsylvania. In Wisconsin, the Supreme Court ruled in a 5-3 order that Wisconsin cannot count mailed ballots that are received after Election Day. It was a long night, and we still do not know who won the 2020 presidential election. President Donald Trump and his Democratic challenger Joe Biden are in a tight battle for White House. Many of the battleground states have not yet been called, including states like Georgia, Michigan, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin. Trump has won Texas, Florida, Iowa, and Ohio, while Biden carried Arizona, New Hampshire, and Minnesota. Joe Biden's campaign says it will fight any efforts by President Trump's campaign to go to the U.S. Supreme Court to prevent ballots from being tabulated. Trump says he wants all voting to stop, and he will go to the Supreme Court if needed. Here in Florida, Donald Trump won Florida, receiving 29 electoral votes. However, history was made here in Duval County. For the first time in decades, Duval turned blue in a presidential election. Also in Duval, voters agreed to a half-cent sales tax to improve school facilities. Republican U.S. Representative John Rutherford wins re-election to the U.S. House in Florida's congressional district, defeating challenger Donna Deegan. Florida voters also approved raising the state's minimum wage to $15 an hour over the next 6 years. We still don't have an answer to who will win the 2020 presidential election. According to the Associated Press, we are waiting on Alaska, Nevada, Georgia, North Carolina, and Pennsylvania to be called. Joe Biden is at 264 votes and President Trump is at 214. If Biden were to win Nevada, that would put him at 270 electoral votes. However, some sources have not yet called Arizona. According to CNN, we should get updates on Georgia, Nevada, and Arizona today. At 10:30 a.m. Eastern Time, Georgia's Secretary of State will hold a news conference. There's still around 90,000 votes to be counted. At noon Eastern Time, Clark County in Nevada will give an update. Biden is currently holding an 8,000 vote lead. At 9 p.m. Eastern Time, officials in Arizona's Maricopa County plans to give their next update, where the county tweeted overnight that 275,000 ballots remain uncounted. President Trump's campaign has put in legal action in Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Georgia. The campaign also announced a recount in the state of Wisconsin. On Saturday, Joe Biden became the projected winner of the 2020 election with 290 electoral votes, along with Kamala Harris, the vice president-elect. Biden says he is gratified by the response to his election.
Tonight, we're seeing all over this nation, all cities and all parts of the country, indeed across the world, an outpouring of joy, of hope, renewed faith in tomorrow. Bring a better day.
President Donald Trump has not yet conceded his loss and has promised legal action in the coming days for accusations of large-scale voter fraud. Russian President Vladimir Putin is one of the handful of world leaders who have not yet commented on Biden's victory. Putin says he will not congratulate President-elect Biden until legal challenges are resolved. The team helping Joe Biden prepare for the White House is asking President Trump to cooperate with an orderly transition of power. As Biden begins his transition, he's working on the coronavirus. Biden has announced members of a task force of public health experts to help his administration take on the virus. The 2020 presidential election officially hit the highest voter turnout in more than 50 years. The turnout rate is at 62% as of Sunday, and as new votes are still slowly tallied, the rate will continue to grow. Well, Ospreys, that's it for this edition of Inside Swoop in 90. I'm Sydnee Batzlaff, and I'll see you next time.